In every age, people have asked the same questions. What is the good life? How should we treat one another? What does it mean to be free or virtuous or just? What does it mean to be human? Western moral philosophy for beginners and Selenius Media takes you on a guided journey through the minds that shaped the moral backbone of the West, from the earliest Greek thinkers to the modern age. Lived stories of struggle, ambition, conflict, revelation, all unfolding against the sweep of history. If you've ever wanted to understand philosophy clearly, calmly, and humanly, if you want to know not just what these thinkers argued, but why it mattered, follow Western moral philosophy for beginners today and explore 10 more podcasts at Selenius Media. Pythagoras, the ancient Greek philosopher who lived from 570 to 495 BCE, is perhaps best known for his eponymous theorem in mathematics, involving the relationship between the sides of a right triangle. However, his influence goes far beyond mathematics, extending deeply into moral philosophy and the idea of living a good life in alignment with higher realities. Pythagoras is foundational to the development of ethical thought in Western philosophy, and although we have limited direct writings attributed to him, the ideas and principles his followers, known as the Pythagoreans, cultivated, continue to resonate even today. At the heart of Pythagorean philosophy is the concept of living in accordance with the cosmos and the belief in the fundamental relationship between number and order. Pythagoreans perceived the universe as being governed by mathematical laws, equating harmony and beauty in nature to numerical harmony. This numerical perspective transcends mere calculations. It embodies a moral framework suggesting that virtues, such as justice and moderation, follow a similar order. The Pythagorean view cultivates a belief that the ideal life involves harmony, not only within oneself, but also in one's relationships and interactions with the world. One of the most compelling ethical ideas attributed to Pythagorean thought is the notion that living well means aligning one's life to a universal order, a principle that can be understood through the concept of harmony. For example, the Pythagorean ethical framework emphasizes moderation in all things and the importance of balance. They maintained that excess or deficiency in any area of life leads to disharmony and dissatisfaction. This notion of moderation as a guiding moral principle echoes through various moral philosophies that followed, including the Aristotelian concept of the golden mean, which similarly suggests that virtue is found in the balance between extremes. To illustrate this further, let us consider how Pythagorean ideas of harmony and moderation might apply to personal ethics today. In our fast-paced modern life, individuals are often faced with choices that require balancing professional and personal responsibilities. The Pythagorean ethical approach encourages individuals to evaluate their commitments and relationships, advocating for a harmonious balance between work, leisure, and social obligations. For instance, a business leader might apply Pythagorean principles by avoiding exploitative practices for short-term gains. Instead, striving for long-term sustainable success that benefits all, employees, customers, and the community. This represents not merely an economic perspective, but a moral one that aligns the interests of various stakeholders within a balanced order. Moreover, Pythagorean thought also finds relevance in contemporary discussions about technology and artificial intelligence. As we grapple with ethical dilemmas posed by rapid advancements in technology, including AI's impact on employment and social interaction, Pythagorean principles of harmony become pertinent. Just as Pythagoras posited that our actions should contribute to cosmic order, we are called to assess how the ethical frameworks we establish around advancing technologies align with what is just and beneficial for society as a whole. For instance, when developing algorithms designed to make decisions in critical areas like healthcare or criminal justice, the desire for fairness, transparency, and accountability reflects the Pythagorean commitment to harmony in human interactions. However, Pythagorean ethics is not without its criticisms. One major limitation of their moral framework is that it can be seen as overly deterministic, suggesting that all situations and human experiences can be distilled into rigid numerical or categorical frameworks. Critics argue that this approach risks ignoring the complexities and nuances of individual circumstances, potentially leading to morally ambiguous formulations of right and wrong. Additionally, the emphasis on harmony can lead to a neglect of justice when it comes to addressing systemic injustices. An overemphasis on balance might forever maintain the status quo instead of advocating necessary changes. Responses to these concerns have emerged from later ethical thinkers who sought to develop moral philosophies that account for both the importance of communal harmony and the complex realities of individual agency and justice. This dialogue reaches back to figures like Socrates, who famously questioned the static nature of accepted knowledge, urging a more dialectical engagement with ethics, thereby challenging strict interpretations of moral codes. Turning to the future, we see thinkers like John Stuart Mill, who developed utilitarianism as a moral framework based on outcomes rather than static principles, reflecting a move away from rigid standards toward a more flexible, consequentialist outlook that allows for engagement with diverse and complex moral situations. Thus, while Pythagorean ethics underscores essential truths about the importance of balance and harmony, we must remain mindful of their limits. The fullness of human experience requires a combination of ethical approaches that consider both communal and individual needs. Bridging this historical chasm, we find an echo within modern ethical debates today. Pythagorean thought does not simply end with concepts of harmony. The philosophers following him, primarily the Pythagoreans, extended his ideas beyond ethics to encompass communal living and practices that emphasized a structured, disciplined lifestyle aligned with their philosophical principles. Pythagoras and his followers held that moral living required a commitment to a way of life, which included dietary restrictions, communal property, and rigorous education aimed at personal and collective transformation. Their way of life was, in itself, a form of ethical practice, reinforcing their belief that actions and lifestyles could reflect deeper cosmic truths. Connecting this to contemporary society, we can identify modern movements that embrace holistic living, advocating for values like sustainability, mindfulness, and social responsibility. Many adherents to ethical vegetarianism or veganism, for instance, are driven by ideals of harmony and compassion for all living beings, embodying a Pythagorean spirit in their choices. Through embracing these values, they seek to cultivate a world where their actions reflect a commitment to balance, echoing the Pythagorean notion that our choices matter not only to ourselves, but also to the wider tapestry of life. As we reflect on how these ideas apply to our own lives, we might consider where we find imbalance, whether it be in our personal lives, in our work, or in our dealings with others. Pythagoras invites us to think critically about our roles within the larger cosmic order, and to seek not only our own flourishing, but also the well-being of others and the planet we inhabit. How might adopting a Pythagorean lens, emphasizing harmony, moderation, and interconnectedness, affect our decisions and the broader social structures we are a part of? In essence, by diving deeper into Pythagorean morals, we glean insights that are relevant to contemporary life, urging us to seek balance and harmony in an increasingly complex world. As we navigate our own moral landscapes, we can carry forward these lessons, striving to create a life that reflects deeper truths and aligns with a greater sense of order, both within ourselves and the communities we belong to. In diving further into the ethical dimensions of Pythagorean philosophy, we must consider the implications of their doctrine surrounding the soul and its relationship with the cosmos. The Pythagorean view of the soul cannot be overlooked if we seek to understand their overall ethical framework. For Pythagoreans, the soul was seen as immortal, undergoing a cycle of reincarnation, which implies that one's choices in life have consequences that extend beyond a single existence. This belief in the transmigration of the soul instills a sense of profound moral responsibility in the individual. The idea that our actions in this life influence our future incarnations cultivates an ethical mindset focused on the attainment of virtue and the pursuit of a life aligned with the cosmic order. This perspective prompted Pythagoreans to develop a robust ethical lifestyle organized around rituals, pursuits of knowledge, and community governance. They believed that through education, discipline, and adherence to specific moral codes, individuals could refine their souls, progressing towards higher states of existence. Their community's practices fostered virtues that responded to the complexities of life, while maintaining an alignment with the larger cosmic order. This interconnectedness between the soul's development and moral living can be readily observed in our current contexts, particularly in the realms of spirituality and personal ethics. Consider the approach of modern movements that embrace concepts of holistic growth and wellness. Many individuals today focus on personal development, incorporating practices such as mindfulness, meditation, and ethical living as means of nurturing the soul. These practices alienate the notion of the self from mere individual satisfaction, instead suggesting a broader engagement with the community and environment. Modern spiritual philosophies often echo Pythagorean ideals by advocating for a balanced existence that transcends selfish desires, advocating instead for a communal approach to well-being. Furthermore, the Pythagorean inclination towards collective living offers us insights into communal ethics in a time marked by individualism and fragmentation. Their emphasis on shared resources, mutual support within the community, and cooperative endeavors provides a relevant model for contemporary society. In terms of social ethics, how we engage with our communities raises pressing questions about social responsibility and the implications of individual actions on collective well-being. In areas such as environmental ethics, Pythagorean principles resonate profoundly. Issues of sustainability, stewardship, and respect for life reflect the community's commitment to harmony and balance. For instance, movements advocating for environmentally sustainable practices arise from a recognition that individual choices, what we consume, how we live, impact not just our lives, but the lives of future generations. The idea of living in accordance with nature, a core part of Pythagorean ethics, can inform modern environmental policies and consumer behaviors, supporting a vision of a world where human actions enhance rather than detract from global harmony. Moreover, the Pythagorean sense of responsibility speaks volumes in the context of modern technological advancements. As we navigate the complexities of contemporary issues such as climate change, food security, and social justice, the idea that our lives and choices echo into the future invites reflection on our moral obligations. Pythagorean ethics compels us to consider the long-term implications of our actions, prompting dialogue around sustainable development, corporate social responsibility, and community welfare. Yet we must also interrogate Pythagorean ethical assumptions further, specifically concerning the notion of elitism within their philosophical community. Pythagoreanism has faced scrutiny, not only for its claims of secretive teachings, but also for the perceived exclusivity inherent in its moral and social frameworks. Critics might lament that adherence to specific doctrines of harmony and virtue could alienate those who dissent or do not adhere to the rigorous standards set forth by Pythagorean thought. This poses an inquiry essential in ethical debates today. Can an ethical framework that emphasizes harmony and community genuinely account for diversity and dissenting voices? This tension highlights a broader critique of moral philosophies striving for universal principles. The challenge resides in accommodating pluralism within ethical frameworks. Many modern thinkers, from existentialists to postmodernists, have wrestled with these complexities, emphasizing the need for fluidity in ethical norms that allow for individual agency and the richness of diverse human experiences. In bridging the dialogue between Pythagoras and subsequent thinkers, we find that this tension between harmony and individual difference enriches our understanding of moral philosophy's historical evolution. Figures like Socrates, who emphasized questioning accepted norms, established a philosophical method that sought to make room for subjective experience and dissent. This inquiry not only countered elitist claims, but also hinted at a more inclusive ethical discourse, elevating individual thought and fostering dialogue in an arena traditionally dominated by rigid doctrines. Fast-forwarding toward the Enlightenment, we encounter Immanuel Kant, who further developed this lineage of thought by introducing the concept of duty and categorical imperatives as guiding moral principles. Kant's framework diverges from Pythagorean ethics in its departure from cosmic harmony towards a more autonomous notion of moral law, placing individual rationale at the center of ethical deliberation. This shift heralded a transformation in moral philosophy, establishing the groundwork for future explorations of rights, justice, and autonomy that would come to characterize modern ethical discourses. As we reflect on Pythagorean moral philosophy within the broader context of Western thought, one vision becomes clear: the quest for harmony, whether within oneself, between communities, or with the cosmos, nevertheless requires an ongoing dialogue. It invites us to reconcile collective values with individual experiences, to explore the interconnectedness of our moral choices, and to respond thoughtfully to the challenges we face on both personal and societal levels. As we conclude this deep dive, we can return to our own lives and consider how Pythagorean principles might inspire us to cultivate balance, foster compassion, and live in accordance with the greater whole. How can we work towards individual growth in ways that resonate with the broader communities we inhabit, helping to weave a tapestry of existence that is rich, inclusive, and aligned with the values we cherish? Pythagoras offers a stimulating lens through which we can examine these questions, prompting us to merge our personal endeavors with the pursuit of a harmonious world. In seeking answers, we may find ourselves navigating the delicate balance between ideals and realities, embracing the Pythagorean call to moral living while also confronting the complexities of human experience. Thus, we are reminded that the journey of ethics is not merely about achieving harmony, but also about engaging with the rich, often discordant, fabric of life that makes us human. This exploration encourages us to hold a vision of ethics that is responsive to both our needs and the needs of others, striving for a life that reflects the interconnected tapestry of existence in which we all play a part. Continuing our exploration of Pythagorean moral philosophy, we find ourselves wading deeper into the philosophical currents that Pythagoras and his followers set in motion. Beyond the emphasis on harmony, balance, and moral living connected to cosmic order, there's another dimension of Pythagorean thought that speaks to the very nature of knowledge and its relationship to ethics. The Pythagoreans' belief system was not just about individual virtues or societal harmony. It was also intimately tied to the pursuit of wisdom, cultivated through rigorous discipline, study, and communal living. In this segment, we will delve into the connection between knowledge, ethical living, and the cultivation of virtue as fundamental components of the Pythagorean ethos. Knowledge in the Pythagorean tradition was perceived not solely as intellectual mastery, but as a means of moral refinement. The Pythagorean pursuit of knowledge involved mathematics, music, and philosophy, fields considered sacred because of their inherent mathematical nature. The interplay between these disciplines illustrates the Pythagorean belief that understanding the universe's structure and order leads one to a deeper appreciation of moral truths. For them, knowledge was always intended to elevate the soul, allowing individuals to align their lives with a higher moral and cosmic order. This perspective found expression in their education system, which prioritized both intellectual growth and ethical development, fostering individuals who not only understood the world, but also acted justly in it. Consider, for example, the Pythagorean understanding of music and its moral implications. They believed that music deeply affected the soul, capable of inspiring virtue or inciting vice. The harmonics of music, defined by specific numerical relationships, mirrored the moral order they perceived in the universe. These ideas have intriguing implications for our contemporary lives as well. In modern psychology and education, we see a growing recognition that aesthetic experiences can enhance moral and emotional development. Music therapy is increasingly employed to foster emotional well-being, reflecting a modern understanding that beauty, creativity, and ethical grounding are not merely abstract concepts, but integral to personal and societal health. As we further examine the Pythagorean approach to knowledge, it's essential to consider the communal aspect of their educational practices. The Pythagorean society was structured around a communal way of life, emphasizing shared resources and responsibilities. This model instilled a sense of collective accountability and support, encouraging moral growth within a structured environment. The ethical dimension of group living highlighted the belief that one's moral character cannot be fully actualized in isolation. Rather, it flourishes in shared experiences and collective striving toward common philosophical aims. In exploring this communal dimension, we can resonate Pythagorean thought with modern-day initiatives emphasizing cooperative living and communal ethics. Co-housing communities or cooperative businesses today reflect a similar commitment to shared values and collective responsibility. These enterprises embody the Pythagorean ethos by creating environments where moral and ethical living are nurtured through mutual support, shared goals, and cooperation. By providing opportunities for individuals to engage with one another while also fostering personal growth, these communities echo the Pythagorean belief that our moral actions are amplified in the context of our communal interactions. Furthermore, as we navigate the complexities of political responsibility in the contemporary world, the Pythagorean perspective may compel us to rethink our roles as citizens. The notion that we are not merely individual actors, but part of a broader moral community, prompts reflections on our engagement with social issues, collective governance, and environmental stewardship. For instance, In the realm of environmental ethics, the Pythagorean commitment to living in coherence with nature resonates powerfully as we confront urgent global challenges such as climate change. The recognition that our actions today have repercussions for future generations aligns with the Pythagorean belief in the continuity of the soul and the moral weight of our choices. However, one must critically engage with the implications of Pythagorean communal ethics, particularly concerning notions of conformity and exclusivity. The Pythagorean way of life, with its stringent moral codes and hierarchical structure, raises questions about the inclusivity of their ethical vision. Critics have pointed out that an emphasis on communal living and harmony could lead to the suppression of dissenting voices or individual differences. In this light, one must consider how the insistence on a single moral order might overlook the plurality of ethical experiences that coexist within diverse societies. Responding to these critiques, various strands of philosophical thought have aimed to balance the communal focus with a recognition of individual rights and diversity. 20th century thinkers, influenced by existentialism and social justice movements, underscore the need for inclusivity in ethical frameworks while advocating for communal solidarity. For example, contemporary discussions around ethics increasingly emphasize the significance of recognizing marginalized perspectives, a principle that echoes Socrates' dialectical approach while holding firm to the belief that ethical living must be adaptable, inclusive, and responsive to a variety of lived experiences. Transitioning from the communal aspect of Pythagorean ethics, we must also reflect on their views surrounding the development of character. The Pythagorean ideal of the philosopher king, which holds that those who govern should be guided by wisdom and virtue, finds roots in their commitment to moral education. Pythagorean thought suggests that good governance is intertwined with the moral character of leaders, an idea that resonates deeply within modern discussions concerning political ethics. The relationship between knowledge, moral authority, and governance is potent in today's political climate, where calls for ethical leadership are frequently articulated in the public domain. As society grapples with issues of transparency, accountability, and the ethical dimensions of leadership, Pythagorean principles can serve as a reminder of the necessity for wisdom and virtue in public office. The emphasis on cultivating character within leadership aligns with contemporary ethical models that advocate for the integration of moral education in political discourse. By reflecting on how individuals in power can embody ethical values, we are drawn to reconsider what it means to engage responsibly within the public sphere and champion the principles of equity and justice. Yet, as we explore the Pythagorean perspective on knowledge, community, and governance, we must also acknowledge the enduring challenges and tensions that arise within moral philosophy. For instance, critics of Pythagorean doctrine might argue that their emphasis on an objective moral order can lead to moral absolutism, which may fall short of accommodating complex situations that require nuanced ethical considerations. This critique points to a broader philosophical discussion around the need for flexibility and adaptability in moral frameworks that align with the diverse realities of human experience. Looking at this tension historically, it becomes evident that responses to the Pythagorean view emerged in the works of philosophers such as Aristotle, who acknowledged the complexities of moral situations and endorsed a more situational approach to ethics. Aristotle's virtue ethics, with its focus on character development informed by social contexts, challenges strict interpretations of moral codes, inviting us to weigh circumstances against broader ethical principles. This dialogue exemplifies the interplay between Pythagorean thought and its successors, revealing a dynamic, ongoing conversation within the domain of moral philosophy, one that continues to challenge us as we forge ahead in ethical reasoning today. The final dimensions of Pythagorean ethics we must address concern their conceptualization of justice and the individual's role in ensuring just outcomes within society. Pythagorean thought, while largely focused on harmony and balance, also lends itself to discussions around justice through the understanding of proportion and equity. Their belief in mathematical relationships and order lays a foundation for exploring how justice operates within human societies. To the Pythagoreans, justice is not merely about external outcomes, but also about the internal disposition of individuals who strive toward equitable and harmonious relationships. Today, this Pythagorean view of justice resonates powerfully in debates surrounding social justice, equity, and the distribution of resources. The acknowledgement of fairness and balance calls attention to the ethical imperative to ensure that social structures promote the well-being of all individuals. When addressing issues such as income inequality, systemic privilege, or environmental justice, we find ourselves engaging with the central Pythagorean question: how can we create a harmonious society where the needs of the community are balanced with the rights and dignity of each person? As we reflect on the implications of Pythagorean thought for contemporary ethical discourse, we are reminded of the profound interconnectedness of moral philosophy and society at large. The invitation to engage with these ideas challenges us not only to consider the principles that guide our decisions, but also to seek a deeper understanding of how our actions reverberate throughout our communities and the world. In this way, Pythagorean ethics pushes us to look beyond ourselves, fostering a sense of shared responsibility that enriches our interactions and contributes to a broader moral framework. Navigating the complexities of today requires us to draw from the lessons embedded within Pythagorean thought, contemplating how we can apply these insights to foster harmony, justice, and personal growth within our own lives. What does it mean for us to live ethically in times marked by uncertainty and challenge? How can we integrate the ideal of moral balance into our daily choices, aspiring not only to personal fulfillment, but to the collective good? By grasping the legacy of Pythagoras and his followers, we are invited to genuinely wrestle with these questions, recognizing that the pursuit of ethical living involves both individual agency and communal support. The quest for harmony, equity, and wisdom continues as we embody the principles that link our choices to the broader moral fabric of existence. As we conclude this deep dive into Pythagorean moral philosophy, the imagery of a universe governed by order and balance remains a poignant reminder of our potential for ethical living. When we embrace the ideals of harmony, knowledge, and social responsibility, we are granted the transformative opportunity to effect change not only in our lives, but in the world around us. In doing so, we weave our narratives into the larger tapestry of human experience, embodying the enduring legacy of Pythagorean thought, one that champions virtue, interconnectedness, and the timeless quest for a life in accordance with the cosmos. In contemplating how these ideas may shape our understanding of ethics today, let us carry forth the Pythagorean legacy, recognizing the moral weight our choices carry. How can we strive to create a world where harmony and justice flourish together, inviting all voices to participate in the symphony of existence? The answers to these questions, nuanced and complex, reside within us all, awaiting exploration as we navigate the unfolding journey of ethical living in our contemporary society.
Midnight rails under silver moon, dusty boots on a winding road. A shadow's the only friend I've known since she packed up and let me go. Empty whiskey bottle on the seat, her laugh still echoes in my bones. Saddle's heavy with memories. I ride alone where the wind still blows. Nowhere else to be. 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 Sunrise paints the horizon gold, but it don't warm a lonesome soul. Every town I pass feels half her size. Every trail's haunted by goodbye. I whisper prayers to open skies, hoping someday my heart'll find a brand new path beyond the pain, where broken hearts can heal in time. Nowhere else to be. 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 Nowhere